The Prix Galien is a welcome initiative to stimulate creative research and promote excellence. Barack Obama. The Galien Awards ceremony is considered the equivalent of the Oscars night for the innovators in the labs and awards every year the best pharmaceutical product, the best biotechnology product, the best medical technology, best digital health, best incubator accelerator, best startup.
This is the right event, on the right issue, at the right time.
I thank His Excellency, the President, for bringing Prix Galien to Africa, and I look forward to the day when we will celebrate an African winner of the Prix Galien.
I'm particularly grateful to receive this award.
The awards are among the highest honors in science and commerce because they lead to improvement in the human condition.
The Prix Galien Awards recognize the world's brightest minds and most innovative companies. They are a true celebration of the hard work required to produce life-changing interventions.
That is what makes us optimistic about the future.
Congratulations to all of you.
Make a difference. Join the Galien Foundation.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon for what promises to be a very exciting session. My name is Dr. Michael Rosenblatt, and I have the honor of being the new chairman of the Prix Galien USA Awards Committee. And I also have the wonderful honor of moderating this panel discussion, which is our first media presentation of the year. And to kick off the new year, we're going to share some highlights as well as recognize the really incredible achievements of the biopharma industry in the year just past 2022. Each year, the Galien Foundation convenes its global community to advance its mission, which is to foster, recognize, and reward excellence in scientific innovation that's directed at improving the state of human health. And it does this through a few mechanisms. One is by recognizing through an independent committee of 12 scientists, researchers, academic leaders, which includes 3 Nobel laureates, a few outstanding achievements of the private sector in the discovery and the development of new treatments for serious diseases. The Galien Foundation also sponsors awards in the areas of biopharmaceuticals, vaccines, medtech, and digital app awards in the US and 14 other countries, as well as Africa. So it's now a truly global effort through the Prix Galien International Awards. Another mechanism is hosting public fora to advocate for best practices supportive of greater private sector, public innovation. And the Galien USA Forum, which is one of the highlights of the year, is held annually in New York. It's, I think, one excellent example. And there we, among other topics, we hear about the world's leading healthcare organizations, and they discuss past, present, and future challenges for human health. Finally, the Galien Foundation promotes partnerships between the private sector and biopharma and key stakeholders like government, NGOs, academia, patient groups, and the media. And a special category of award that it has in this arena is the Pro Bono Annum Award, which was launched about years ago in 2007 by the co-founder of Galien, the Nobel Peace Prize laureate, the late Dr. Elie Wiesel, a great intellect and a great humanitarian. And he was a rising force in the global movement for health equity where medicine, the innovation of medicines is so key and is regarded as a human right, namely health for all. So as we look back on 2022, in October, we had a chance to review some of the outstanding contributions of that year. There were 15 webinars that were held over a 3-day period, reviewing 144 products from 126 companies in 14 therapeutic areas. Really impressive showing. They were nominated for awards for recognition as a winner of a Prix Galien in 5 categories. And we're going to hear from the winner in each of these categories. The categories were Best Biotech Product, Best Pharmaceutical Product, Best Medical Technology, Best Digital Health Solution, and Incubators, Accelerators, and Equity. So we're now going to move on to hear from the 5 winners, and I'll introduce each of them when it's their turn to speak, and I'll mention their category. But in particular, they've each been posed the same question to include during their talk. And that is, what did it take to get your winning product over the finish line to commercial success? And also, what are the clinical benefits of the product to patients, as well as social and economic gains for society? So with that background, it's my honor and great pleasure to go to the first of the Prix Galien winners from 2022. And I'd like to introduce Neil Stahl, who's Executive Vice President of Research and Development at Regeneron. And he's going to speak about the company's win for Best Biotechnology Product of 2022 with Inmazeb, which is a combination of 3 agents for the treatment of Ebola. Dr. Stahl, please.
Thanks very much. It's great to be here. So there were several hurdles to actually make this happen. The first thing we had to do was make the antibody cocktail. And we had 20 years of technology lined up behind us that allowed us to make screen thousands of antibodies and make a 3-antibody mixture and get it ready for the clinic in 5 months. So that was our first really great achievement. And actually, we used the same technology for our COVID drug as well. The second, and we did that for the first Ebola outbreak, which was in West Africa, but it was over by the time that we had manufactured drug supply. But unfortunately, or fortunately, there was a second outbreak in the Congo, and we were ready for that one. And so the hugest hurdle there was doing the clinical study, because the outbreak was in a very remote part of the Congo, which was rather violent at the time. They had to close 2 of the clinical sites, actually, because they were invaded by people. And nonetheless, this brave and dedicated group of clinical researchers actually did the study and compared our drug to 3 other drugs. And amazingly enough, our drug, they stopped the study early because our drug had surpassed the standard drug, ZMapp, by a significant amount early in the study. And so they stopped the study and just switched everybody to treatment with our drug and another drug. And so this wasn't really a commercial success. This was more of a humanitarian success than a commercial success. But the government did pay for our supply at the time, BARDA did, and they have a stockpile of this drug. Should ever there be another outbreak of Zaire Ebola, they have a stockpile. Or if there's, God forbid, a bioterrorist event where somebody tries to, seed it elsewhere in the world. So the benefit to patients was actually quite large. My favorite number is that if you got the drug before having symptoms for more than 5 days, it dropped the mortality from 65% to 10%. So that is really a pretty startling number that tells you how well it did. And those that did die actually were pretty late in their high viral content, even at 5 days. So I think that's our story.
That's terrific. What we're going to do is to hold questions until each person has spoken, and then depending on the questions that we get from the audience or from fellow speakers or from me, we'll go back and revisit some of the talks. Thank you, Dr. Stahl. Next, I'd like to introduce Angela Coxon, who's the Vice President for Research at Amgen, and she's going to speak about the company's win for Best Pharmaceutical Agent in 2022 with LUMAKRAS.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here and participate in this webinar. It's an extreme honor that LUMAKRAS has been awarded the Best Pharmaceutical Agent this year. LUMAKRAS is a small molecule inhibitor of KRAS G12C. And before LUMAKRAS was approved, patients living with KRAS G12C mutated non-small cell lung cancer had very few treatment options. And it's been a 40-year quest by the scientific community to try to find inhibitors of KRAS. I'm really proud to say that the Amgen researchers uncovered how to make this elusive mutation druggable. So we're now progressing probably the largest and broadest KRAS G12C inhibitor development program, and we're doing that across 5 continents. We've now got 10 different combination regimens that we're pursuing, really trying hard to bring this molecule to as many patients with KRAS G12C as possible. So far, we've been able to treat over 6,500 patients across the globe with KRAS G12C. And we've done this through our clinical development programs and through our commercial use. I think it's really a great example of how we've been committed to science and innovation and bringing forward novel medicines for patients. And so through this large kind of global program, we're hoping that we can bring the molecule forward to serve many patients around the world. And so again, thank you for this tremendous honor from the Galien Foundation, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today.
Well, thanks again for telling us about that remarkable breakthrough to get a drug against KRAS. Next, I'd like to turn to Renee Ryan, the CEO of Cala Health, and her company won in the Best Medical Technology category in 2022 with Cala Trio. Please tell us about your innovation.
Well, on behalf of all of our employees and the thousands of patients we treat, we're truly honored to have received this award. I feel so small in a way when you hear these global stories of these large pharmaceutical companies. We are commercial here in the United States with a wearable neuromodulation therapy. So we treat a condition called essential tremor. Essential tremor is actually the most common and most prevalent movement disorder in the world. In the United States alone, there's about 7 to 10 million patients that struggle with hand tremors caused by essential tremor. By comparison, Parkinson's is only about 1 million patients in the US. So it's a very large condition. Many of these patients struggle with both their hand tremors, which are debilitating as the disease progresses, but also over 50% of them suffer from depression and anxiety. So there is a societal effect with this condition. So what we do is we have a wristwatch-like form factor. We stimulate 2 nerves at the wrist, the median nerve at the center of the wrist, the radial nerve that comes off the bottom of the thumb. And we're actually addressing the loss of input into the brain that causes the tremor oscillations. Patients wear our device for approximately 40 minutes, and they receive 90 minutes of benefit of tremor reduction, meaning they can go and feed themselves and dress themselves after each session is complete. It is an on-demand at-home use therapy. And so we are very proud to say that we now have thousands of patients who are successfully using our technology. We've been commercial since 2019 here in the United States alone, and obviously have much more growth to come to have further impacts on both the condition of the essential tremor patients and society as a whole. So thank you again for having us.
Thanks very much. I recall the discussion we had in the committee, and we just loved hearing about this invention. It's so unique and innovative. So
Thank you. We're honored to be here.
yeah, thanks for that. Let me turn now to Andrew Hopkins, who's the CEO of Exscientia. And that company won for the best digital health solution in 2022 with an end-to-end artificial intelligence-driven precision medicine platform. Please tell us about it.
It's an absolute honor to be here today. And on behalf of the whole company, we are absolutely delighted for being selected, particularly for this new category as well, because what we're bringing forward actually is a new approach to how we think about discovering drugs and selecting the right drug for the right patient as well. So as all overnight successes, it's actually been 10 years in the making in how actually we've been developing our platform, and actually even started our first clinical investigations about 5 years ago about how we can apply AI to selecting the right drug for the right patients. So the way we think about it, if fundamentally we want to sort of improve the chances of discovering the right drug, then we look at the pharmaceutical industry really as an information industry. We think about what are we doing every day is about generating data and how we make decisions. And that is where we really believe actually that machine learning and artificial intelligence can help us potentially make better decisions in the areas of how we design drugs and how we select the right drug for the right patient. And the key thing we've been building over the past 10 years really is how do you now build real achievements to show that artificial intelligence is going to make a difference. Where we've got to now is actually truly have built an end-to-end platform. We've got first drugs that are being generated by AI now in clinical trials, the first 3 now going forward. Those are being generated by algorithms moving forward into a clinic. And I think, as you see now, with the advantages of generative AI in other industries coming through, we're already seeing it for potential here in pharma. But the other big application has been how we can also show that AI can help us select the right patient for our drug. And this is where we truly believe actually, not only can we help patients today, actually in how we can get better diagnostics, but also how we can really contribute to the development of precision medicine going forward. And I'll give an example of kind of trials we've been running and how actually the impact we believe this can have, even in diagnostics as well as in designing better molecules. As you know, the dream of precision medicine has been a selection of a right drug for the right patient. We can use AI to precision engineer design of a right drug, but also we can use it to help select the right patient. And we did this actually by developing a sort of a single cell analysis process. We run it in a trial called EXALT that we published last year. And what it's about then is about taking sort of the tumor samples, looking at the individual cells, understanding the response of individual cancer cells, immune cells, stroma cells. We can really understand then screening potentially nearly 150 different drugs, truly personalized screening for individual patients. What we found then by using sort of deep learning approach of that is that in, I believe, this landmark clinical trial of EXALT-1, we showed that when we look at sort of blood cancers, we could truly then identify which drug actually would help the right patient. And everyone who joined the trial had already failed existing lines of therapy, at least 2 lines of therapy. Many of them had gone for many more end-of-life sort of patients. And what we found then, what was really exciting, is that if we looked at a control group, around within a year, everyone is progressing. If we look at the group where the drug that was recommended for treatment was actually selected by the AI algorithms, about 25% of patients after nearly 4 years were still progression-free survivors. And we had a hazard ratio of 0.53, an objective response rate of 55%. And I think actually this is actually the first example of showing that an AI system can now improve outcomes in oncology. We're incredibly excited by this and its potential for truly personalized screening to help patients. But also, we are using that directly in how you develop new drugs as well. The new trials we're starting now in our drugs, how you use this technology to select much better biomarkers and truly then identify responders, non-responders by looking directly at individual patient response. And we truly believe that precision design, personalized medicine truly comes together with this platform. And for the Prix Galien to recognize this and its advance and truly show these are the achievements now that show that AI has arrived on the scene, we are honored actually to be a recipient of the award.
That's terrific. Thank you for that summary. And now our last speaker, Johannes Fruhauf, who's the CEO of BioLabs, LabCentral, and the company won in the category of incubators, accelerators, and equity. Please tell us about your innovation.
Thank you, Dr. Rosenblatt, and huge thanks to the Galien Foundation for recognizing us and the work that we do, but even more importantly, maybe for recognizing this sector and creating this new category that we won in, which I think follows the reality in drug development, which sees that it's such a big task that a single company often can't fulfill it. It really does require many different teams to work together, and we sort of represent the innovators here that are often in distributed small entrepreneurial teams. That's our crowd, that's our stakeholder group. These are academics converted into entrepreneurs taking their ideas forward, and I'm really grateful and honored on behalf of our teams for that recognition. Galien means a lot to us. We've seen over the years these fantastic drugs, and to sort of see our effort recognized at the same level as these life-altering and life-saving drugs that you all develop is really awesome for us. We do the front end of what we celebrate here. We bring into the real world the ideas and the innovations. We do that through space. We do that through labs that are fully functional and fully operational. We started about 10 years ago, and I think we have really brought about a change in the way that people build biotech companies. It's now much faster. It's much cheaper. You don't have to own a lab in the first year or two of your existence, and you can check the scientific hypothesis before you spend large amounts of dollars. BioLabs and LabCentral are now in 4 countries, in 8 states, and in 16 cities. And I think the one number that I'm most proud of is 80 clinical trials have been launched with drugs invented at our labs. And over 7,000 patients have enrolled in these. Every year there's a few more. So we cheer on our innovators, and we try to give them the best environment to be successful, to be faster, more capital efficient, and have fun while they're doing this important work. And we are very grateful to the committee for recognizing the work that we and these innovators do. Thank you so much.
That's terrific as well. The word amplifier should be added to your award for creating even more from your platform. Thanks to all the speakers. Let's see if we have questions from the audience. Are there any? I might just ask a couple of questions. Let me begin with Dr. Stahl. I wanted to ask, given the severity and kind of the emergency need for the Ebola treatment, did you have to, often conventionally, if you have a 3-component drug, you have to test each individually and then put them all together in the end. Did you have to do that, or were you able to go right to the 3-way combination?
I don't think we had to do that in the clinic. We actually did some preclinical studies to show the advantage of each antibody and that they work together better. But you know, the rush to help patients was so great, and you know, a lot of times we've learned so much from COVID that if you have a single antibody, it can mutate away, right? And so I think that there's a lot of understanding of that, and we had learned the hard way ahead of that with another drug program that we had. And so we sort of pledged to try to use a cocktail of antibodies as often as possible. And I think the regulators understood the urgency that there was to get the drug to people who were suffering and dying from Ebola, as well as the idea that a 3-drug cocktail is better. You know, the other thing with antibodies is that if they don't bind to anything in your body, they're really safe and they're like water. So I don't think there was a lot of concern about toxicity of each of the individual products.
Right. And can you use it prophylactically or only for treatment?
Yeah, sure. It works prophylactically too. It probably works better prophylactically. We did preclinical studies. We didn't try that in people.
Yeah, great. Thank you. We've got a question. This is probably the last question. What types of collaborations, partnerships did your organization engage to accelerate innovative outcomes? This isn't directed to anyone in particular, but if somebody wants to just jump in where a key collaboration illustrates this point, I'd love to hear that before we close.
I'll give a good example, actually, in trying to develop new technology, which is what we found when we first started to introduce the concept of AI even 10 years ago. It was a bit countercultural, actually. There was a bit of cultural resistance to, could AI do something creative as drug discovery? And so what we found was really vital was actually finding these sort of vanguard customers, the people you could engage with, who could actually see the future and allow one then to double down in understanding and testing technology out in real world situations. And that was the most vital thing we did with our early collaborators. It was really about ultimately, we have a data-driven industry with pharma. It's not about hype. So therefore you need to really show that things can work in the real world. And actually all our early collaborators, which now include people like Sanofi and BMS on a very large scale, those have been absolutely vital actually in sort of encouraging sort of this new technology to move forward. And I think I can't underestimate enough actually the importance of finding the right collaborators actually to who've got enough vision as well as you have to really drive a new tech forward.
Well, that's a great message. I'm afraid we're actually running, this is a great discussion, but we're out of time. So I just want to make a few closing remarks. First of all, gratitude to our speakers and congratulations again for winning these awards and then communicating them to us. I think there's so much behind each of these stories and we could just kind of skim the top of it. I think if there's a unifying theme across the presentations, it's number one is excellence, and the second and two would be diversity, very different kinds of approaches, each leading to benefit for human health, and then a commitment to patients, above all, even above commercial success, as we've heard. So I know that 2023 is going to present at least as much challenges as in the past. I anticipate seeing more vaccines, more products in the categories that we've heard about today. Today's discussion, the presentations and Q&A will be available shortly on demand through the Galien Foundation YouTube page. And again, thanks to the audience and congratulations to today's presenters. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.